Hey, welcome back my sweet canon minions. It's time for Game of Thrones Season 3, and man, these ones are right. So without further introductions, let's jump straight into it. New world building from Season 3 plus characters. Creatures. Giants. Alright, so apparently giants are real, and this dude we see, mass towering over Hodor like it's nothing. Works. These guys can basically take control over animals, and as we saw with Bran, maybe even humans, if they are gifted enough. Characters. Jojen Reed. Jojen is basically Bran's new friend, guiding him on his journey to follow his visions. I'm calling it. There's something fishy with him. He just knows too much. Mira Reed. Jojen's bodyguard, basically she's the muscle and Jojen's the brains. Solid duo, cover each other's weaknesses. Mance Raider. Leader of the savages, tough, commanding, knows how to handle his people. An interesting individual to say the least. Brienne Tart. Catelyn's bodyguard, and from what we can tell, she might have feelings for Jaime. Plot points. The Brotherhood. You guys remember Stannis' witch girlfriend? Well, she's not alone. She's got friends, or at least other heretic followers of the same god. I still don't fully get the whole God of Light thing, but from what we've seen, this god actually has the power to back up the talk, bringing people back to life, and if Melisandre's leeches really do work, with the right sacrifices, he can apparently assassinate people too. But man, the Word of Light has completely taken over Stannis. He's not thinking straight anymore. Wanting to sacrifice Gendry, that's just insane. And it's not like Gendry is a random person, he's family. The only family he has left after the passing of Renly and Robert. I don't know about this god, but he definitely knows how to drive people crazy. Jaime Lannister metamorphosis. Maybe the most important character development this season is Jaime's. He basically makes a full 180 from the arrogant, smug bastard we knew into someone you can actually feel for. It's like watching an ugly larvae turn into a beautiful butterfly. So how did we get here? Let's start with his escape. If I remember right, when Catelyn freed him, Jaime was still acting like a douche, teasing her, mocking her, saying random crap just because he could, but she still let him go. And I think that moment, that one drop of kindness, was what started the whole change. Like the first time someone showed him mercy, he finally saw a glimpse of what being human actually feels like. So Catelyn sends Brienne to escort him to King's Landing, trusting her to keep him alive, and during the whole trip, Jaime's being... well, Jaime. Talking non-stop, trying to escape, throwing jokes when literally no one's laughing. But under all that, you can tell something's changing. He's starting to respect her, maybe even like her a bit. Then they get caught by one of Rob's bannermen, and that's when the fun stops. Their situation isn't exactly ideal, as the Northerners aren't welcoming at all. But Jaime stands out. He lies for Brienne's sake and actually saves her from what could have been a really terrible situation. Unfortunately, not every good deed gets rewarded. Jaime overstays his welcome and tries to weasel his way out of captivity, which leads to him losing his sword hand, the very hand he relied on for everything. This completely breaks him mentally. The next day, as they travel to Harrenhal with their new friends, we can see that Jaime has completely lost his will to live. He doesn't care what happens to him or anything else, he's just a shell of his former self. But when he's at his lowest, practically ready to give up entirely, Brienne snaps him out of it, reminding him who he is and why he shouldn't give up yet. From that moment, I think either Jaime starts to like her, though I mostly doubt it because we know who his real love is, or he realizes that without his fighting hand, there's no longer a need for unnecessary violence. You could argue that his sword hand was like a chain, locking him into the reputation of being a formidable fighter, something he always felt he had to protect. Now that it's gone, the pressure to prove himself disappears too. During their talk, he admits he's always been a swordsman. It's the only thing he was ever truly good at. Saying this shows he wanted to be the best, not because he genuinely desired it, but to prove to himself that he could. Now that his hand is gone, that need to prove anything disappears as well. After arriving at Harrenhal, Jaime strikes a deal with Bolton and manages to get out alive and escorted to King's Landing. At this point, he's practically free, but he remembers Brienne won't get the same treatment as him, so he risks his own safety to go back and rescue her, which, yeah, leads to him fighting a bear. Sometimes that's just how it goes. Both he and Brienne manage to escape the bear and return safely to King's Landing. When they enter, someone even mistakes Jaime for a peasant. To me, that just shows he's no longer that noble highborn anymore. He's just a regular human with regular human emotions. In this way, he completes the metamorphosis of his growth, returning to the place where it all began for him, but as a changed and matured man, giving a new beginning to the new version of himself. The Crow Massacre. Another thing that completely caught me off guard was the whole Night's Watch massacre at Craster's Keep. Like bro, I get it. They've been freezing, starving, watching the dead rise. Tension was bound to explode at some point. But a full-on bloodbath between brothers? That was definitely not on my bingo card. Seeing them just lose it, turning on each other, on Mormont, on everything they stood for, was honestly brutal, and the worst part, it leads to the death of Jorah Mormont himself. The man literally kept them alive this long and that's how it ends. It's completely insane, and I can't wait to see Jon's reaction when he finds out about this mess. The Starks can't catch a break. The Catelyn Jaime domino effect. Okay, let's break down every step of this domino effect, just so we can see how one single decision can cause absolute chaos. So as I mentioned before, Catelyn letting Jaime go was straight up insane, but even I didn't expect this much fallout from it. First of all, it pissed off the Karstarks, and honestly, rightfully so. It was total injustice to them. With no Jaime to take out their anger out on, they went and killed the Lannister captive kids, which first of all is completely inhumane, and second of all, a literal war crime. That of course enrages Robb, and leads to him executing Lord Karstark himself. But you know what happens when you cut off the head of a house? They bounce. The Karstarks straight up abandon him. Now Robb's left with fewer men, less power and no leverage. So what does he do? He tries to fix it the only way he can, by making a new deal with Walder Frey. And at first it seems chill. Frey just wants Robb's uncle to marry one of his daughters, since Robb already broke his words by marrying Talisa. Reasonable, right? Yeah, no. The wedding turns into one of the most sad, brutal and gut-wrenching scenes I have ever watched. As Catelyn, Talisa rob his unborn son and pretty much his entire army gets slaughtered. And you think in her last moments Catelyn would, I don't know, find peace or maybe pray or something, but no, she decides to murder a child. A completely innocent one at that, before getting her throat slit. Sansa Lannister. Well, Sansa's misfortune continues, or maybe fortune because Tyrion is definitely a better candidate for marriage than Joffrey. So yeah, she kind of dodged the bullet, but don't let the fact that Tyrion is going to marry her fool you into thinking she's safe from Joffrey's bullying. Far from it. He still wants to torment her, even going so far as to say he'll serve her robes as head at dinner. Yeah, at this point it's safe to assume that Joffrey has a thing for using heads as a torture method. Bran follows his dreams. This season is very Bran heavy. Following his visions from Winterfell to the Wall, Bran decides what's next for him after the whole Winterfell mess. He's going to follow his dreams. I guess that's where the metaphor comes from. His journey actually goes pretty smoothly at first, and he meets Jojen and his sister. They're super helpful and guide Bran on his path, and their party keeps growing closer, but it doesn't last long as Osha leaves with Rickon to get him somewhere safe. But Bran and the gang keep moving, deciding to stay the night at a seemingly haunted castle, though the ghosts look kinda chubby. Yeah, it's Sam, who after realizing that Bran is actually Jon's brother, shows him a secret passage to go to the other side of the wall. Honestly, I have no clue how they're planning on dealing with the White Walkers. Hodor and Mira are basically the only ones capable of fighting, and call me crazy, but I don't see them taking on 100 White Walkers at once. Although Sam did give them a couple of pieces of dragon glass, so maybe that would help. Technically, you could argue Bran might possess the White Walkers and make them fight each other one by one, while the rest of the party protects him, but yeah, that's probably never going to happen. Still, it's going to be interesting to follow his journey. Arya finds her new dad. After all the tragedies Arya's been through, just when we think she might finally reunite with her family, the Red Wedding happens. Yeah, it's mega unfortunate. All of this happening to a child, Tragic doesn't even cover it. But hey, if there's a silver lining, it's that Sandor Clegane isn't that bad of a guy. Sure, he's a bit crazy, a killer and kind of terrifying, but he helps Arya when she needs someone the most. Honestly, Sandor might even turn into a father figure for her. Not gonna lie, I'm starting to actually like him. From betraying Joffrey to having Arya's back, I just hope he keeps showing this side of him more and more. Theon's damnation. Theon's storyline just keeps getting darker and darker. He's still being tortured, like, brutally. Though at least it seems he will get rescued soon, but this torture, it's next level. He basically loses his, let's say, dignity, and at this point I don't even know if he deserves it or not. Yeah, he did some stupid stuff, really stupid stuff, and he clearly regrets it, but what's happening to him right now just feels like overkill. By the last time we see him this season, he's just empty. No spark left, no pride, nothing. Begging to be killed. Honestly, I still stand by what I said before. Theon is the saddest character in the entire show, though Arya and Sansa are catching up pretty fast, so who knows, maybe he will lose the title soon. Jon Snow betrays the Savages. Turns out love isn't enough to stop our boy Jon Snow. Man straight up betrays the Savages and goes completely 1v9. Now, don't get me wrong, I genuinely think he loved Ygritte. You can see it in the way he looks at her, in the silence between them, but deep down, he just can't give his heart to something he knows isn't right. And yeah, leaving her, that probably hurt more than anything he's ever felt before. But he still does what most people would call objectively right. Then again, what even is objectively right? At the end of the day, life's all about perspective. Maybe you agree with him, maybe you just wanted to see how their little savage affair would go. Either way, something tells me this story between them isn't quite over yet. Daenerys propaganda. Not gonna lie, I'm actually starting to kinda like Daenerys, but honestly, I feel like the show is pushing us to like her. Like she's the only one doing pure good out there. She's freeing slaves, saving people, speaking about justice and freedom, and sure, that's cool, but at this point, it almost feels like a propaganda. That's why I'm calling this part Daenerys propaganda, because almost every season ends with her doing something huge. Well, except for season 2, but come on, they couldn't really put her over the White Walkers, right? Still, she's becoming a real problem, in a good way and a bad way. You can feel that her influence is growing, her army is getting stronger, and her dragons are actually starting to look like actual threats. She'll probably get her throne one day, no question about that. But for now, there's a much bigger threat moving in the shadows. One that doesn't care about thrones, titles, or bloodlines. So the real question is, when that time comes, will she help or will she just keep building her empire while the rest of the world burns? Tywin Lannister, the man who makes the king bow. Now we finally get a real glimpse of who's actually pulling the strings in the Lannister family, and damn, do we get a good look at it. Not Tyrion, not Cersei, not even Joffrey, no one says no to Tywin Lannister. Yeah, Tyrion might be the smartest, Cersei might be the slimiest, when Jaime's gone of course, and Joffrey might be the most deranged, but none of them can do a thing if Tywin doesn't allow it. His words aren't suggestions, they're laws. Tyrion doesn't want to marry Sansa? Tywin doesn't care. Joffrey doesn't like the way Tyrion talks to him? Tywin doesn't care. Cersei doesn't want to marry Varys? Guess what? Tywin still doesn't care. He commands respect and authority like no other. Even if he plays dirty sometimes, it genuinely feels like no one can stand up to him. Even Tyrion, the same guy who isn't afraid to talk back to Joffrey, a literal monster, carefully measures every word when he's around Tywin. White Walkers are killable. So Dragonglass, which if I remember correctly is basically obsidian, can actually kill the White Walkers. And after I went on about how Sam was wasted potential in the previous video, he completely shuts me up. Our favorite stepdad becomes the first person in the entire series to kill a White Walker. Yeah, he didn't really know it would work, but hey, a win's a win. Another season, another video. I'm sticking to the short and sweet vibe this time, none of that long form stuff, because honestly it just works better. This season, easily the best one so far. I'm giving it a juicy 9.5 out of 10, and I'm hoping the next one tops it. so I can finally give Game of Thrones a proper 10 out of 10. Love you guys, I'll see you in the next one.